Hello, welcome to the Lifetime English Major, which is me and other people too. And before I talk about anything else, I want to always talk about books. I'm proud that I have some books by E.B. White. I love that guy. And I used this when I was teaching music, not music, we've been talking about music, writing. This is a piece that he wrote in 1948 about a doe. And at the Bronx Zoo. She was only a couple of feet from the wire, and we sat down on a rock at the edge of the footpath to see what sort of start young fawns get in the deep fastnesses of the Middle Bronx. The mother, mildly resentful of our presence and dazed from her labor, raised one forefoot and stamped primly. Then she lowered her head, picked up the afterbirth, and began dutifully to eat it, allowing it to swing crazily from her mouth as though it were a bunch of withered beet greens. And I read that and I thought, how, if you want to write, it's lovely. It's we can see that bit greens. That's, and it's not just something or other, it's this. And he wants you to see it, and we do. Okay, as a Lifetime English major, I'm talking to another Lifetime English major. This is Libby Taylor, who is deeply involved in Gold Country Writers. And if you want to learn more about Gold Country Writers, and of course you do, goldcountrywriters.com. And may we include your email?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Libby, Libby, TW, @wavecable.com. And she is the contest coordinator of the Gold Country Writers. And we will talk about that soon. Mm-hmm. But what is Gold Country Writers?
Well, Gold Country Writers are a group of people, local, in 5 or 6 counties in the area that come together in Auburn. And
5 or 6 counties? Really?
People come from all over this area.
I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm impressed. That means something.
Yes, it's very
proud.
It's very unusual to have local writers in this day and age of having Zoom calls and conference calls, to have critique groups that are in person and give you live feedback as you're sitting there discussing your inputs. And Gold Country Writers is a group of people who have a passion about, first of all, writing, of course.
Of course.
And secondly, of sharing and developing our craft together, working on our pieces as we come together for walk-in critiques that we do on the the second and fourth Wednesday of every month.
Second and fourth of every Wednesday.
Second and fourth Wednesday, from 10 to 12. And then on the first Wednesday is business meeting, but on the third Wednesday we have a speaker.
So tell them that.
We have a speaker on the third Wednesday, and the speakers are really incredible. Not only do they come and speak to the people that attend from all these areas that are nearby, but we also have them recorded, and you can find them on the website under recordings.
Okay.
But we have some incredible speakers that come from sometimes quite far away. There might be visiting a San Francisco venue, and they'll stop by Auburn and share with us before they leave town. So it's really incredible. We do have some very interesting people.
That's wonderful.
Very interesting and accomplished people.
How long have you been involved with this group?
I'd say a little over 3 years, 3.5 years, something like that. Yeah.
What have you written?
Well,
I'm assuming you've written.
Yes.
Of course you have.
I have critiqued through Gold Country Writers, my second book, which is in the final stages of editing, and then it'll be out there in the autumn. But my first book is called Port of Refuge, and it is a story about a young girl who is raised very conservatively and then kind of rebels a little bit like young girls do, and makes several poor choices, finds herself a little bit too involved in the outlaw motorcycle culture, unbeknownst to her. And once she realizes it, she kind of runs away and escapes from that and finds herself in Northern California. And this is where the rest of the novel takes place, is in Northern California, as she's trying to regroup her life. And she ends up not being afraid of motorcycles and motorcyclists for that very reason. However, she ends up doing motorcycle ministry at a local church. That
Motorcycle ministry?
Yes. Yes, my husband and I, that's why I wrote the book. My husband and I do motorcycle ministry, and I've been doing motorcycle ministry since 2007 alongside my husband, and we minister to Hells Angels, Vagos, Mongols, booze fighters, just
in a way they understand.
the 1% group. They call themselves 1%ers. But basically they're the three-piece patch organizations that are out there. And that just means they're outlaws. They don't like the term outlaws, but they wear three-piece patches instead of one or two. So it's a different world, and I wanted to write a book initially for the women that do motorcycle ministry and the women that we minister to. And so that was the first story that I decided to write a fiction story around.
Okay, ministry meaning God. And
Well, yeah, it just not so much religion as it is Christianity. Just the idea, because in our chapter of the Christian Motorcyclist Association that I belong to, it's all different church families. No, it's not any one church or
Okay.
any one religion. It's just ecumenical. However, when we work with the people, we talk about God, and that is common. That is common across
of course.
many
Yeah,
many denominations.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I see you have a book.
Oh yes, I brought my book with me. I have a couple bookmarks.
And
I'll leave those
show,
with you.
Show them.
Okay.
Port of Refuge.
Port of Refuge. Yes, I took two towns on the coast of California, Half Moon Bay and Princeton by the Sea, and I kind of mashed them up together and renamed them Puerto de Refugio, typical California Spanish name. And Port of Refuge is this English translation
Okay.
for that. And so this takes place in a little town called Puerto de Refugio, where my main character,
And you've made up that
Rebuilds.
that
yeah.
okay.
So as a fiction writer, you take liberties.
Yes, one does. And when did you first get that done?
Well, this has been out there for about a year.
Okay.
September of last year, September 9th.
Where can we find it?
Amazon.
Amazon.
Yeah. Amazon.com. Port of Refuge by Libby Taylor, or Port of Refuge. I always sometimes mix up Port of Refugio.
Okay.
Port of Refuge by Libby Taylor, Amazon. And it's relatively inexpensive, being a new writer. So in fact, I was talking to somebody over the weekend, and while we were talking, she pulled out her phone and she purchased the
good.
ebook right there while we were talking.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
All right.
So
Okay.
I enjoyed writing it so much so that I've continued with joining Gold Country Writers and getting more and more involved, and that's where I took my second book. My second book is really interesting because
Of course it is.
it's set in Auburn. What a concept.
Oh yeah.
And so if people don't know that I live here, they think, oh, that's so wonderful, you're setting a book in Auburn. But it's a story that I went to a podcast about writing, listening to some other writers talk, and I was introduced to a man named James Rubart, who writes magical realism, and I didn't know what that was. So I did a
And
little
you learned.
research, I bought his book, read his book, and I was enthralled with the idea of writing magical realism. And so an example of magical realism might be the movie What Women Want with Mel Gibson, where he gets struck by lightning and he can hear women's thoughts.
Okay.
So it's the realism is the set and all the characters. It looks like just everyday world. But the magic is that he can he can hear
Mm.
people's thoughts or women's thoughts.
Only women's. Okay.
Right. And so my book has a theme like that. It's more technology driven, but a woman who is going through, let's see, a recent divorce. Her youngest just went away to college. Her business partner is giving her some problems and so on. So she's got all these things going on in her life. And her kids give her a phone, a new phone, a smartphone, because she's going back to college to get her master's degree in business administration. Yeah, lifelong learning.
Yes.
And they give her a new phone, and all of a sudden on her phone, she keeps getting these text messages, and she doesn't know who they're from. And later in the book, she discovers not only who they're from, but what they're said, what is being said, and how it pertains to her. So anyway, it's an interesting story.
Fascinating.
But by the end of the book, she has gained. She's challenged with self-confidence and, of course, wanting to control the lives of her 3 children. Where have we heard that story before? So by the end of the book, she's much more relaxed about her children, living their own lives, making their own mistakes.
I'm going to have to read that one.
It'll be out in the fall.
Oh, good.
It's just simply called Listening.
Neat.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
I'm listening. Wow. Okay.
But I love the fact that it's set in Auburn, because I just love this city.
So do I.
It's beautiful.
Yes, I think it's a great place with with wonderful communities. It's a great community.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And so one of the several reasons you're here talking with me is that Gold Country Writers is having nonfiction short story contest of true stories.
Mm-hmm.
And so tell us about that.
Well, a couple of years ago, we did a fiction contest, and we wanted to do nonfiction to incorporate people that are more memoir focused, or even if they're ghostwriting. So if you're ghostwriting a true story about someone else, I've ghostwritten a story as if it was my husband speaking, but I was the ghostwriter that wrote it. So if you wanted to write a true story about something in your life, 1,500 words or less, this would be the venue to do that. And
So how many words or less?
1,500.
Tell them
Yeah,
that.
1,500 words or less. You need to be over the age of 18, and you need to be in the 6 counties of El Dorado, Nevada, Placer, Sacramento, Sutter, or Yolo. So those are the Placer and the counties surrounding.
I hope you recognize that. She didn't look at anything. She just did bang like that.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you write a lot.
Well, I counted on my fingers.
Well, yes, that too.
And then, the reason it's Placer and the surrounding counties is because our key sponsors are the Placer Arts Council, the Gold Country Media, which is our newspaper and other publications in the area.
Hooray.
And then, of course, Auburn Community Television. And there's one that I missed.
This
I
is
wrote
fine.
them down because I didn't want to forget our sponsors. There's one that I missed. Hold on. I feel embarrassed.
Don't worry about it.
Oh,
I'm gratified, actually.
oh, you know what? I don't have it there. There's one that I missed. It'll come to me.
Yes, it will.
It'll come to me.
And we all understand, don't we? Okay. So it's all the event. The event is at the end of the year, at the end of the month.
The judging is going on right now.
Yeah.
The celebration, when we give the awards, is October 4th. You can find the information on our website as far as entering the contest. And I would just like to reiterate, the most important part about entering the contest is when you go to the entry form, it'll give you the two links that you need to follow. When you're filling out the entry form and before you upload your submission, go to the link that tells you what the rules are, because in there is format rules, and you need to format it a certain way for the contest. And then the other thing is the rubric. So what that means is these are the 12 areas that we will be judging your piece on. So there's things like the opening and the closing and the story arc, and that's, you know, kind of the structure of the story. But it's also things like the craft of the story. So the what I call the art of the story. It is the techniques that you use, like deep point of view, or descriptions, or internal dialogue, or dialogue. All of these things go into creating your story. But then also, and it is understood, we all have computers now, spelling, grammar.
Yes, spelling and grammar.
Should be perfect. You definitely want to have that, you know, and also following the instructions in the submission format. So those are the things that we judge for.
Okay.
And do all of read those the rubric of the 12 areas, the format, and all the instructions on the contest rules before you submit. Only one submission per person.
Okay. And you so log on to goldcountrywriters.com, and almost immediately there it is. Information about the nonfiction short story contest of true stories. And true stories is basic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's how
1,500 words.
1,500 words.
Or less. We've had some submissions that are half that. But if if there's a story arc, and you can put a story arc, and there's what's called flash fiction is out there now, and there are some stories that these are for people that really have practiced a lot to be able to do a story arc in 100 words or less.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a challenge.
it is a
Not
challenge.
everybody can do that.
No, I can't.
That's an art.
I cannot. What advice do you have for writers in general?
I would say if you're going to enter a contest, my advice would be to first write it, and always remember your first draft is for yourself.
Just for yourself. Just for yourself.
Just get the words on the
Yeah.
page, just write it. Then go back, and don't worry about your word count, just write it. Then go back and tweak it, edit it, and get it to where you think it should be within the 1,500 word count and so on. And then let it rest. And let it rest for a day or 2 or 3 or 4. And then go back and look at it, and you'll see different things. When I set something down and then I come back to it a few days later, it's like, oh, I wrote that, and I fix it, you know.
I wrote that.
Yeah, or I think that paragraph should be up here, this one should be down here, you know, that kind of thing. And then once I've done all of that, then give it to someone else to read and get their impression of it. And sometimes that's my husband. Sometimes I'll give it to a friend who's a writer, or one of my sisters, because you want to give it to somebody who's going to be honest with you. And my sisters can be, they love me to death.
Overwhelmingly.
But they can be very straightforward, and some people would call
what is this?
Some people would call it critical, but you know, that's what you want.
Yeah.
You don't want somebody to come back and say, oh, that was wonderful. You want somebody to come back and say,
Are you sure?
I didn't understand this. What did you mean by? And explain what this is, you know, or give me another sentence around what 1 percenter or 3-piece patches,
Yeah.
you know, something like that. I don't understand. So that's what you want to get. Make those final changes, review the format and the contest rules, and then submit.
Yeah.
So that's kind of write it, tweak it, give it to someone else, let it rest, look at it again, give it to someone else, make your final edits, compare it to the rules, and then submit.
Okay. And that's not only just for the nonfiction short story contest of true stories. That's for everything.
That is
If
for
you-
everything.
If you want to promote this, if you want to sell it, yeah.
If you are trying to get an agent, which today, in today's publishing world, if you want to do traditional publishing, you need an agent. You just don't go straight to a publisher. Well, you could, but only 1% of the people get published that way.
Yeah.
So most people go through an agent. And to get an agent or to go to a publisher, you have to get on their website and follow their instructions to the letter. Some people will even get so far as to say the space between paragraphs, how much of an indentation they want in the first line of a paragraph. They will even say when it's appropriate for you to use semicolons and not to use colons, and so on. I mean, they are extremely detailed.
Well, good.
And they do it for two reasons. One, because that's the way they want to see it and read it.
Mhm.
But secondly, because they want to know if you can follow instructions. They don't want to work with somebody, a good agent, a good editor, a publisher, they don't want to work with somebody who can't follow instructions. It's as simple as
Yeah.
that.
And we understand.
Oh, yeah.
I understand both kinds of people. I could. This is what I don't care. I don't care.
Well, yeah.
This is what I want to say, and that's the way it is.
Yeah.
But that is what this writer is. This writer has its. But if you want to write, if you want to write, and have somebody pay attention, you have to be clear. There are so many people who don't care. So many writers who do not care about that.
Well, they don't feel that excellence is important. I've had a lot of people say to me, "Oh, this is inspired, so I don't want to make any changes to it." And that's well and good, because there is an art to what we do.
Mm-hmm.
However, there is also a craft.
Yeah.
And if you're working with professionals, traditional publishing or anybody that hopes to publish and make money from their work, you have to understand that there is also, as in any business, they want to make money.
Sure.
And nobody wants to publish something if they read it and they think, this has a very narrow audience,
Yeah.
because it's so, how shall we say, it doesn't adhere to things like understandability, like you were just
Yeah.
saying, I don't get it, or, you know, I spell that word that way because that's the way I envision
That's the way
it.
I want it to.
And, you know, using
And
words like...
if you don't get it, that's tough.
Yeah, using words like irregardless, you
Mhm.
know, well, it's in the dictionary. Well, even the dictionary tells you not to use it. But it is in the dictionary, but it's not a word. It's double negative.
Mhm.
But people say, oh, but that's the way I talk, so I want it in my book. If you want to do that, then you need to self-publish,
Yeah.
because publishers are in the business of making money, just like any business.
Yeah.
Any business. You don't do it for free. And most authors, you want to make some money,
Mhm.
even though we may be the lowest paid profession in the world. You want to make some money, and, you know, in order to do that, you need to follow both the art and the craft.
Yes. Yeah. And if you want to use words that you use and you think, put them in. If you want to have somebody talk that way, that's fine.
Yeah. If it's
But-
in dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
it's in dialogue and you're trying to depict, well, in my first book, in Port of Refuge, there is a scene where this guy has had too much to drink and he slurs his words.
Quote.
I put quotes around it. I do not take any suggestion from spell checker, because I wrote it that way. I want him to sound like he's slurring his speech.
Mm-hmm.
So in dialogue, you have more leeway.
Sure.
You can have poor grammar, you can have misspellings, but that's dialogue.
Yes. That's how this person is speaking.
Or if somebody is speaking in Ebonics, typical language within the African American community, especially in the East Bay, where I'm from, in the Bay Area. In the East Bay, it's very common for people to speak in Ebonics. At one point, they wanted to teach it in the schools, but they didn't feel that it was setting the students up for success in the business world. If that was the only English that they knew was Ebonics. But yeah, if you want your character to speak in Ebonics, then don't spell check that.
Yeah.
Let it be what it is. But that's the combination of art and craft.
Yes.
And it goes together.
Yes. So you need to put quotes around it. If
Yes.
if you want to have them speak, that's fine. But quote.
Yeah. Yeah, an example of that I love to use is the song. Now, I'm dating myself now, but
Uh-oh.
the song I'm gonna be there. It's I am going to be there, but the song says I'm gonna be there, because that's Ebonics.
Okay. And that's a song.
That's a song from, years ago.
Yeah. Many. Okay. So, we have the time. I'd love to hear about a book you've loved for decades and
Oh, boy.
probably still have.
Oh, writers don't get rid of their books. Readers don't get rid of their books.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I have several that books that changed my life. I mentioned one already, Rooms by James Rubart.
Okay.
And it changed my life because it opened up the whole idea of writing magical realism, and I thought, I wonder if I can do that. And I did. And when I took it to my critique group at Gold Country Writers, they loved it.
Hmm.
So it's like I say, that's coming out in fall. Another book that really rocked my world was a fiction book, was The Overstory.
Hmm.
It was a Pulitzer Prize winning book a few years ago, and I happened to be reading it while I was on vacation, The Overstory, by Richard Powers, I believe is his name. And it's a book, he tells the story of the 60s and 70s, which of course I lived through that era, but he tells it through the history of trees. And there's no real way to explain how he does that.
Overstory.
The Overstory. So
Okay.
you've got this story of all these different kinds of trees, everything from the chestnut tree on the East Coast that became extinct, and he tells you why, to the redwoods on the West Coast. And he talks about everything from apple trees and maple trees and so on. And each character in the story is associated with a tree. It is masterfully written. It is so interesting. I happened to be reading it while I was on vacation, and we were driving through Northern California, Oregon, and Washington. And I'm reading about
Look at
these
that.
trees
Yeah.
being cut, clear cut of all these beautiful redwoods.
Yeah.
As we're driving through the redwoods, it was an experience reading that book. But there are some other books, nonfiction books, that I dearly love. One of the books, I finished it and it's still on my end table where I pick it up every once in a while. It's called Choosing Gratitude.
Choosing Gratitude. Okay.
I love that book by Nancy Lee DeMoss. And Choosing Gratitude, it just reminds me every day that it is a choice. It is a choice to choose to be grateful.
Yes.
And the more that we practice, just like any other muscle, the more that we practice gratitude, the happier we are as people.
Yes.
And the more we think about just how grateful we are to live the life that we're living now. And every chapter is better than the one before
Oh
it.
boy.
It's one of those, you think after this wonderful chapter, what could she possibly say? And then you turn the page.
I've got to read that.
And the next chapter just blesses you even more.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it's great. It's a
Okay.
great book. Yeah.
Well, Libby Taylor, who is the contest coordinator of nonfiction short story contest of true stories for Gold Country Writers.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
If you are interested in being involved with this contest, please log on to goldcountrywriters.com and have a good time. It's tough, but you'll have a good time. Libby, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And I'm going to look at these books. Thank you very much for watching.